Hello and welcome. So I got a very interesting question from Nick Fisher. Nick, thank you so much for asking the question. Thank you for participating in this vlog. Thank you for putting this out there because I think it's a very interesting question. How many effects should be in a show? You know, it's a hard question to answer because every performer is different. Every show is different. Every audience is different. So it's a very difficult question to say this many or that many. But hopefully I'm going to offer some guidelines. Let me read to you the entire question so that you get the context, because there are really two different questions. One question is, how many routines do I need in a show? The other question is, how do I embellish my routines? How do I come up with pattern? How do I come up with presentations that make sense? All right, let me share this question with you. Could you do a video on how many effects should be in a show? For example, I have 22 tricks that in theory make up a 45-minute act. But I'd like to trim them down to, say, 10 to 12 and still have a 45-minute show. But I just have no idea how to develop that much pattern. Thanks for your videos and advice. Now, Eugene Burger, I remember reading, and I don't think I have the book. I'm looking. These are my Eugene Burger books over here. I know you can't see them, but I have a whole ton of Eugene Burger books over here, and I think he wrote a book or several books on the performance of séance magic. And he made a point of saying that, you know, if you're doing a theatrical séance and you do 20 tricks, you've killed your séance. I mean, you just ruined. It's just not the environment for it. Eugene Burger has done as little as one effect in a 1 to 2 hour séance. So it's all presentation. It's all theater. And one little thing. And I remember him saying, now I'm trying to remember this because I don't have the book in front of me, but I believe one of the effects was that a photograph or a framed portrait that was on the wall fell off the wall at just the right time. And that's it. And that's it. Now, I share that with you to make the point that Nick, it depends. It depends. It depends on the kind of performer you are. It depends on the kind of audience you're performing for. It depends. If you're doing children's entertainment, children are much more interested in the journey, in the process of getting to the effect than they are in the effect. So you're going to here if you're doing children's entertainment, you can costume your children. Put them in whatever costume is appropriate for the theme of the effect or the theme of the show. And you've got some, you're dressing them, so you've got a little time dressing them, or you put funny glasses on them, or things of this nature, and that's kind of embellishing the act a little bit. Or you're introducing things that are magical. I have, for example, a magical switch, and if a child hits the switch, something magical happens instead of a magic wand. Or in addition to a magic wand. Many Golden Age performers, and I'm thinking of Golden in particular, but there are many others. The old school of theatrical magic, particularly stage magic, if you go back and watch, and I think you can access some of these videos on YouTube, but if you watch some of the classic, I mean the tuxedo, tails, bow tie, goatee style magician, they very often open their act with a flurry of effects. You might get 20 or 30 magical moments in a 10 to 15 minute opening sequence. I kid you not. I kid you not. It depends. Eugene Burger, one trick in 2 hours, right? the classic stage magician, 20 tricks in 10 minutes. It depends. It's a matter of taste and presentation. There is no rule. Those who tell stories are going to have fewer effects than those who do not tell stories. Personally, I'm a storyteller. I'm a storyteller first and foremost. I'm a storyteller before I'm a magician. I would rather tell a story than do an effect. So, but I will give you some sense of what I do. And even having said that I favor stories and favor presentation, even having said that, I still do a lot of effects in a 1 hour show. Adults and teens, I generally perform for 1 hour. And I mean an hour. I don't mean an hour and 1 minute, or I don't mean 59 minutes. I mean 60 minutes. I might do another video on timing, but you know, if you say that you're going to start at 2 and end at 3, I think professionals do that. I just do. If you're told that you have a 15-minute spot, do not take 16 minutes. I mean, anytime that's important, but think about a television spot, okay? You have 2 minutes, right? Not 2 minutes and 10 seconds, not 1 minute and 50 seconds, you have 2 minutes. So you have to, and by the way, Toastmasters drills this into you. Toastmasters will give you a sense for beginning and ending on time. But I do a 1 hour show for adults and teens. For age 7 to teen or preteen, I do 45 minutes. For preschool, I do 35 to 40 minutes. And that's the length of my show for those particular groups. In my 1 hour adult show, I have 15 routines. 15 routines. And I tell stories. And most of those routines, the stories that I tell are either very personal, about my personal history, my personal values, my personal experience, or they're about things that I'm interested in, like the Titanic. I have a Titanic routine that takes about 10 minutes. A single effect, 10 minutes, because I'm telling the story of the Titanic and giving some history and some context to that. So you said, I just have no idea how to develop that much pattern. The stories you tell and the energy you bring are more important, in my opinion, than the tricks you perform. So look at your personal history. By the way, audiences appreciate it when you open your heart up and you share from your heart to them. I try to do that on this vlog, and I think people respond to my honesty and my transparency in doing that, and I think your performances should be that way as well. Find interest areas outside of magic that can inform and inspire your magic. That's another great way to do it. Watch for bits of Now here's the other thing you can do. As you rehearse, and I hope you're rehearsing, as you rehearse and as you perform these effects that are in your show, watch for the natural moments of improvisation, of ad-lib that occur, the responses you get from audiences, the comments that you might get from audience members, and incorporate those into your show. Over time, I have effects. Here's a typical trajectory for me. I get an effect that I think will work. I get it home and I'm playing with it, I'm rehearsing it, I'm going, and it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. So I put it on the shelf and I continue to do my show. And then there's sometimes in the middle of the night, right, 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and, oh, you know what? Here's a presentation idea for this effect. And I write that down and I work on that. And it still doesn't feel quite right, so it goes back on the shelf. And then a light comes on. At some point, a light comes on. I say, oh, this is exactly how I can present that effect that is congruent, that is natural for my personality. And I present this effect that way. Now, I present it for the first time, and it's a little awkward, and people don't know how quite to I'm a little nervous because it's the first time I'm presenting it. But generally it goes well, and I come home and I make notes, and over the course of time, the presentation evolves and grows. Kind of like, if you can imagine a pebble, and you started at the top of a hill, and you begin to roll this pebble down the hill, and it acquires, on the way down, it acquires some other pebbles and some twigs and some fabrics, and by the time you get to the bottom of the hill, it's this huge ball. That's a little bit what developing a routine is like. You just have to do it and do it and do it, and take copious, careful notes, and integrate things into the routine that you have picked up along the way. It'll happen, but it takes time. Nick, thank you so much for the comment. I hope you've enjoyed this answer. I hope it's an answer. Please comment down below. I love your comments. Please subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.